Hello everyone! So I recently made a new journal cover and I'm really happy with the way that it turned out. Here's my process for how I created it. I used cardboard as my base to construct this book, so I cut out two 5x7 pieces for the front and back covers, and I also cut out a 1.5-inch piece for my spine. I used a linen fabric that I picked up at a local fabric store to wrap around my book cover. I used acrylic paint to add some color to the fabric. I used a mixture of white, blue, and turquoise paint to create the color that I liked, and I also mixed in a little bit of water. I used a sponge brush to evenly apply one coat of paint on the fabric and then allow that to dry overnight. The color of the paint can change as it dries, so I recommend doing a test on a small piece of fabric first. To decorate the cover, I wanted to add this floral image with a frame around it. So I cut out another piece of cardboard that is slightly smaller than my front cover. Then I traced out a rectangle that is the same size as my image. I cut out the shape using my X-Acto knife and a ruler, and I basically just trace along the edges until I get a cut all the way through to the other side of the cardboard. Once I had my frame cut out, I arranged all of the pieces together to make sure that everything fit together nicely. Now I'm ready to assemble my book, so I used some PVA glue and put that onto the frame and attached that to my front cover. I also used my sponge brush to evenly spread out the glue. Then I applied more PVA glue to my middle cardboard piece, which will be used for the spine, and I attached that to my painted linen fabric. I'm also going to be using a bone folder. If you don't have one, I highly recommend getting one. It's a very handy tool for bookbinding. Here I'm using the bone folder to essentially burnish the edges, and that will just define all of those creases. I'm going to repeat those same steps to attach my back cover to the fabric. I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch of space in between my spine piece and the cover piece. I personally like the way that looks, and it also makes it easier to open and close the book once it's all assembled. Then I glued in the front cover, and since the front cover has a frame on it, I was extra careful with the glue and made sure to get it in all of the edges around the frame. And I also spent a little bit of extra time with my bone folder to make sure that I really got into all of those creases. After everything was all glued in, I trimmed off some of the excess fabric around the book, and I left about 1/2 inch, I would say, around the edges of the book. One thing I noticed about the fabric is that after I painted it, the texture became a little bit more stiff, and that actually made it easier to work with. It was really easy to cut and also to fold over the edge. I also applied a little bit of extra glue along the edges of the spine, and I tried to push those two pieces together to help define that crease along the spine even more. I then trimmed away some triangles around the corners of the fabric. That will allow me to neatly fold the fabric over the edges of the book. And finally, I'm using my PVA glue and applying that to each fabric piece, and then using my bone folder to press the fabric neatly against the cardboard. Now I'm gluing in that floral image into the little frame that I created on my front cover. I did notice that after adding my fabric onto the cover, the frame got a little bit smaller, so I did have to trim away a little bit of that floral image. So next time I will make sure to consider that in my measurements. Next, I'm finishing up the inside cover. I took another piece of my blue painted fabric and I trimmed that down to size to fit into my spine. Again, I'm using my PVA glue to attach that into my spine. I was pretty generous with the glue there. For the finishing touch, I cut out 2 pieces of decorative scrapbook paper and backed it with some cardstock to make it a little bit thicker. And I glued that to the inside of my front and back cover. And there we have the completed journal. I am very pleased with the way that it turned out. I hope you guys like it too. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like the video and consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you all are doing well, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching!